summer camp. For me, in 1968, it was an isolated, woodsy, dilapidated Adirondack wonderland I now laughingly refer to as Catholic Girls Torture Camp. By that I mean my emotional and physical endurance was constantly being tested. It was a place where I never fully slept, but also where I experienced true friendship. During my first summer there, I found a bunkmate named Elizabeth, who in today's lingo would be referred to as a science nerd. I tried not to move in my creaky old bunk so as not to interrupt, as she mesmerized me with information about plants, the human body, galaxies, and the infinite nature of space. In that dark, secluded cabin, listening to my new friend seemed far more spiritual than any Sunday Mass. Elizabeth chased away my homesickness and made me forget about the heat and my multiple insect bites. I, in return, regaled her with stories about the dog I was going to get, the candy I would buy at the camp commissary, and showed her the art of making fart noises on one's arm. The way she laughed thrilled me. After a few nights of finding it impossible to settle in our bunks, our counselor called the two of us downstairs, where we found ourselves doing 50 sit-ups, 25 push-ups, and 10 Hail Marys as punishment for talking too much. I can still remember the moldy smell of the cabin's living room carpet as I counted 13, 14, 15. In the morning, the other girls thanked us for serving as the guinea pigs in regard to the punishment thing. Although we could rarely anticipate anything at camp, we certainly learned after a second night of silliness when we were faced with water torture, the camp's expression for having to swim out to the camp's tiny island in freezing cold water at 6 o'clock in the morning. All 8 of us were commanded to make this icy early morning plunge, do the 10-minute swim out, pick some of the island's blueberries, and swim back. The counselor would row beside us and reminded us to watch out for the oars so as not to get hit. She blew the whistle and we got in. Since Elizabeth was not a strong swimmer, I tried to make sure she got the safest spot behind the boat and continued to whisper, "You can do this." Elizabeth nodded each time. At first, things were going well. No one appeared to be struggling. We were halfway to the island when suddenly our counselor uttered the words, "Oh shit," and I saw my friend's face blanch. Now, I have always loved a well-timed swear word, but not that time. I turned to where the counselor was looking and saw a herd of deer swimming straight for us. My first instinct was to check on Elizabeth, who was now reduced to something I wouldn't call actual swimming, and beginning to sob. I mouthed the words, "Don't die," to which she shouted, "You don't die." I gestured toward the back of the boat and told her to grab on as the others were doing the same. The deer passed us within inches. I heard their huffing breath grow louder as they approached, felt the heat of it on our faces, on my face as they passed, and smelled their musk. We held on to that boat, our knuckles blue, as the herd ran for the climbed up on the island, and ran for the other side. At that point, I don't know why we thought it was important to grab those berries, but we did. And we all made the return swim safely. When we were able to catch our breath, we talked about our dangerous encounter and cried together, but my tears were about something else. It was our last night at camp. I dreaded going back to a world without Elizabeth. Who would tell me stories as I fell asleep? How would she survive in this world without me looking out for her? There were too many questions, and I missed her terribly already in that summer of '68.